Hi.
Good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello, doctor. We can hear you.
Okay, great. So how are you people?
We are doing good. How are you, doctor?
I'm fine. Today we have a guest lecturer who is going to take us through our next concept, that is nested or inner classes. He's a former student called Darlington Asingwire. And Darlington is one of the best guys, surely, we have had in the recent past in the college, because he graduated top of the class, and he was top of the class from the beginning, right from semester 1 till the end. So he finished, I think, last year, and he was the best in our college, and also had a very big position in the entire university. So Darlington is not only this other academic person, but is also in industry. He's written quite a number of applications. If you are if you are good in coding, you must, maybe you have been searching, you must have found some of the articles he writes, just in form of tutorials to guide students, both on YouTube and also on his site. So we are going to receive and welcome Darlington to speak to us. So Darlington, you're welcome. Please unmute and take on the class. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Hello?
Good morning.
You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. First of all, I would like to appreciate Doctor for introduction. And I'm very glad to be here to be sharing with you content, which is going to guide you along the way as far as advanced object-oriented programming is concerned. So basically today, we are going to look at inner classes. Inner classes is one of the concepts in advanced object-oriented programming. So let me just share my screen and we start right away. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So as I've just said, we are going to just look at inner classes in Java. Yeah. As Doctor has introduced, I do software development. Graduated this year. If you can look at this, as Doctor has earlier said, Darlington Asingwire, who graduated the best student in software engineering, got a first class of 4.53 out of 5. My best quotient along the way was advanced object-oriented programming, where I got a 96. So you guys can challenge me and get that 4% that I failed to get the maximum. And I hope if I take you through inner classes today, this content is going to help you contribute to that 100% that you guys should be fighting for. My website is darlingtonasingwe.com. So let's just shoot. Today's objectives, we are going to see what inner classes are. In programming, for example, in Java or any other kind of programming technology, why do we need inner classes? Then advantages of using inner classes, then types of inner classes, and then we are going to do some coding. I'm just going to leave it at student level for us to understand the concepts. I don't want to code hard things for you guys to get scared, but I'll just demonstrate using code examples that for you guys can easily understand along the way. So basically, this is where we're going to put our concentration today. And I request you guys that you be attentive, and because I'm going to do some coding to illustrate what we are going to be talking about. But first of all, I would like us to first go through some content before we get into coding. So first of all, we look at the definition of inner classes. What an inner class, what is an inner class? For example, if you ask what is an inner class, it's just simple. An inner class is a class which is declared within another class or an interface or any other class. So any class that is within a class is referred as an inner class. Sometimes they are also referred as nested classes. So if you don't get confused when along the way start saying nested classes. So inner classes are used to logically group classes or interfaces in one place in order to improve readability and then maintainability as well. If third year by now, I hope you've looked at some of the principles of a good software. Things like your code, when it comes, for example, code being readable, code being maintainable. For example, if you're this developer in one company and then you happen to leave, if other guys are recruited, can they be able to maintain that code that you wrote? So inner classes can be one of those concepts that can help softwares to be easily maintained. And then creating an inner class is quite simple. You just need to write a class within a class, just as I've said, that an inner class is any class which is declared inside another class. Unlike a class, an inner class can be private. You know, I hope you guys saw or you are lectured about visibility modifiers, right? Where you saw public, private, then there is the default as well. So we are saying here that unlike a class, an inner class can be private, you know, but once you declare an inner class private, it cannot be accessed from an object outside the class. We are going to look at this by using some code examples, because this will help for you guys to easily conceive what exactly I'm talking about. So this is the syntax of an inner class. This is just simple. Yeah, just to illustrate, this is the syntax. You have class X1, which is an outer class. Then you can put where you see this comment like code, because I understand by now that when you see those double slashes, you understand that it's a comment. So they're telling you that you can declare variables, whether instance, whether static. Then when you look inside the definition of X1, we have X2. Now X2 is what we call an inner class. And they are telling you that within the definition or the body of X2, you can write code, you can write instance methods, you can write everything you want. So this is basically the syntax of an inner class. I hope it is very clear to you guys. Because I don't want us to get confusion before. I don't want us to get confused before we get into bigger things. Now we now come to why do we need an inner class? Yeah, why would someone tell me that I need to use an inner class? Can't I get over it and use other things that could be available? But we are saying that there might be a program where a class must not be accessed by other classes or any outside resource as far as programming context is concerned. So they are saying in this case, you include it in another class. Inner classes are security mechanism in Java. We know that a class cannot be associated with, as we've just said, access the visibility modifier private. You know, if we are going to even demonstrate that, or even you can try it. If you declare class private, you will see they are telling you that it cannot be associated with words like abstract, final, and then public. But we are saying in this case where we bring in a concept of inner class, that there is that provision where you can declare a class, in this case, an inner class private, you know? So, but if we have the class as a member of other class, meaning that is an inner class, then inner class can be made private. And in this case, you can access the private members. If we talk of private members, we can refer to the instance members of the class, or instance methods or static methods. So members does not necessarily mean maybe variables only. So we can also talk about methods. So we are saying we need inner classes because you might get this program where if you guys have done enough of software development, you will get like requirement, you've gotten maybe requirements along where they say this module it should be secured from other modules maybe that access the program. So there you have to logically think which concept, could it be inner classes or what? So we are saying at one point, you might get requirements and then you realize that there is a security mechanism which must be applied to a certain module. Then you think, is the concept of inner classes really a nice module to apply in this case? So, but we are seeing that one of the concepts that can enhance security mechanism in Java programming is inner classes, and we've explained that. Next, we look at advantages of using inner classes. Inner classes, you see, in this case, everything is contained within. When we talk about inner classes, these are inner classes which are within maybe a class. You can be an outer class. So one advantage they have is that they logically group classes and interfaces in one place. So, you know, when you're creating maybe a Java class, you have to create like a file, you know, which is compiled after. But in this case, inner classes, you can have all the classes in one file. You have this one file which has one main class or outer class, and then within that main class, you have very many inner classes, as many as you want, based on what you have got at hand as far as programming is concerned. So they press all the classes within one file or one class, and we are saying that is an advantage because I don't need to look into other files to see the relationship between these two, between different classes. But if I have all of them pressed in one file or one class, then one advantage it has got is readability, that I just have to look at one file and see the relationship between the different classes within between different classes within that file. And then maintainability, that you can easily maintain, because it is one file. You guys, you know that if you have different modules of the software pressed in different places, you know, it can be quite hard for you to maintain, because you need to look into this file, also need to look into another file and try to understand the relationship between those many files. But when we are saying that if they are pressed in just one file, which is like one main class containing all these other classes, that it improves maintainability. The next one is that inner classes are a representation of a particular type of relationship, in that inner class can access all members. You know, in this case, we are saying all members. Data members, when we talk of data members, we are referring to variables, for example, or you can have constants, and then methods of an outer class. An inner class can access, you know, can access all the data, all the members. Even if you declare that inner class private, you can still access all those members. You know, if you need to get this, we are going to also demonstrate this from code. But before we go to code, I would like us to see this, that even when I have got an inner class declared private, I can access members of whether those variables or methods, whether they are declared private or public or whatever, maybe default. We don't care about the visibility modifier. We are saying these inner classes can access the members of the outer class, and that is an advantage. Next is minimizes coding efforts, since there is less code to write, hence facilitating code optimization. Now, you guys, I want you to picture this. You're coding and you have different files, may be pressed in different packages. I hope I'm not talking like I hope you know packages. I know you know the hierarchy of setting like a Java project, where you have the project and then you have the package, and then within package you have classes. So assume you picture this, imagine this, that you have different packages, and then within these different packages you have different classes within. So then you have this main class where you have to access, where you have to import, you know, you have to reference the packages. But we are saying, since you have this one main class, you know, that has got different inner classes or different classes within, it reduces the efforts for you to import the packages, so that you can reference the classes which are outside that class, you know, on top, where you have to put the packages, then you have to reference classes using the package name, for example. So that is another advantage, that it minimizes coding efforts. If someone has, I can absorb, also, if someone has ever done maybe React Native or React.js or Next.js, those technologies where you have to see the word import this, even in Java, you know, you have like all the libraries on top of your class or function or component. So that's a lot of code where you have to import everything. But in this case, we are saying if you have this one class, which is the main class, having all the inner classes contained within, that it reduces coding efforts. Next, key facts about relationship, about inner and outer classes. Now, we are saying that inner and outer classes have access to each other's private members. Whether, in this case, private, you know, it's one of the visibility modifiers that we can use to enhance security in programming. But in this case, if an inner class is declared within an outer class, this inner class can access private members of the outer class. And then the outer class as well can access private members of the inner class. We are going to demonstrate that using code, and I will see how that one is possible. So we are saying within the definition of the method of an inner class, it is legal. When I say it is legal, in a programming context, it means it is not causing any errors, whether syntax or any other type of error. So it is legal to reference. So it is this, we are saying within the definition of an inner class. So we are saying within the body, within the body of an inner class, they are saying it is okay for you to reference a private instance variable of the outer. If you declare maybe a private integer in an outer class, this in an inner class can then access that private instance variable. And then also it is legal to invoke. When we say to invoke, it is okay to call. You can use to call, but invoke is a programming term. I hope you understand. It is legal to invoke a private method of the outer class. That's clear. We are going to see that one as well. And then also within the definition, of a method of the outer class, now we are outside the outer class. What can we access from the inner? That's what we are going to look at. They are saying it is legal to reference a private instance variable of the inner class if you declare a private instance variable within an inner class. We are saying that we can access that variable outside, that inner class, maybe within the body of the outer class. But we are only saying on the object of the inner class. So you can access that variable only when you're using the instance of an inner class, We are going to see that one as well. It is legal to invoke a non-static method of the inner class as long as an object of an inner class is used as a coding object. What we are saying here is that you've got whether private or whatever visibility modifier of a method. Maybe you have private integer calculate within an inner class. We are saying that the outer class can access this instance. Non-static, you can use non-static is same as instance method. So we can access this instance method or non-static method of an inner class by using the object of the inner class. We are going to see that one as well. I just want us to first go through a few things here. Then I first code some examples to illustrate this. Within the definition of an inner or outer class, the modifiers public and private are equivalent. What do we mean here? They are on the same level as far as access is concerned. Whether you've used the visibility modifier private or public within an inner class, the outer class can access those members. Even if also you've used the public or private as the visibility modifier on a method or an instance variable within outer class, then the inner class can also access those members. So I want us, before we go to look at types of inner classes, I just want to I want us to first look at what we've looked at, like how do we code, for example, an inner class. Then we see what we've been talking about. When you talk about accessibility modifiers, maybe declaring private and then whether public, maybe on an instance variable within an inner class or outer can either way access those variables. So I just want us to look at a few examples and then we see how to proceed. Can you see the text editor that I'm using to code? You guys can see?
No.
Okay. Let me just share. You can now see?
Yes.
All right. So, you know how to create a project and then create maybe a package. So in this case, I don't want to, I'm just going to use already existing package, which I've called inner classes lecture. So I'm going to create a new class. And this class is going to be our outer class. Maybe I call it outer class. And then within this outer class, I just want to have the public static, the main class. So you all see what I've created, the class I've created, right?
Yeah.
All right, that's good. Now, we've said the syntax is that you have an outer class, then within the body or the definition of that outer class, you have a class as well, and that's what we call an inner class. So I'm just going to declare a class here. Maybe I'm going to call it inner class. So no error, it means that we can have this inner class. So this is outer class, and then this is our inner class called inner class. You can give it any other name. I'm just using these terms just to demonstrate to you guys. So first of all, what we've seen is that whether you have a private instance or static variable declared in outer, that inner class can access that. I need to just demonstrate that. Maybe public string I can call it maybe outer class, and it's a string. Maybe let me just initialize it and call it outer class. So in this case, what I have here is a private instance instance variable, and it's called outer class, the name, and I've initialized it with a variable called outer class. Now the question is, we've seen that this inner class can access members. When I say members, I mean the variables or the methods, whether declared private or public. So in this case, I'm going to see whether I can access the instance variable, which is outer class. So in this case, I'm just going to use like a method to access that variable. So I'm going to call it maybe void message, and then this void message now is an instance method that is within inner class. So maybe I just want to print a message, system.out.println. Then I say an inner class within outer class called so in this case, that's why I want to use to access this private instance that is declared outside this inner class. And in this case, you just have to put outer class variable, you know. So you see, we have no error except that you just need to terminate here, meaning that you can access this instance variable outer class inside inner class without any error. You guys can see the screen, or I need to max the font. Can you see the code within here?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, that's good. Now you've seen that I've been able to access this instance variable called outer class within an inner class. So that is the first case. Another thing is that we can access an instance, a private, if for example I declare int string, maybe I call it inner, then I say inner class. So we have got an instance. This is an instance, a private instance variable within an inner class. But we are saying that you can access this instance variable outside the outer class. We saw that one, but we said only when you're using an object of the what? Of the inner class. So let's see that. You're going to come here and then put inner class, maybe I, which is new inner class. So now I think there's a concept I need to first introduce here before we proceed. You guys, I'm going to confuse you here. So we are going to see how do we access how do we instantiate like this inner class. So before we proceed, first of all, I just wanted to demonstrate how we access this private instance variable within inner class. And you've been able to see that we can access this variable within this outer class. Now, we've also declared an instance variable within an inner class called inner. Then we are going to see how this outer class is going to able to access this variable. But we said that we can only access this variable outside the outer class, but only when you are using the object of this inner class. So this one is going to introduce in a concept of how do we instantiate inner classes. And I would like us to first go back to the slides, and then we look at one or two concepts, then we come back, we see how best we can access this. You can see the slides, right?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Now we are going to first look at types of inner classes. I'm going to introduce the first two, then we go back, we see, we can continue on what we've been looking at. Now we have four types of inner classes. One is member class or nested inner class. The next is static member class, static inner class, and then they are also referred as static nested, and then member class also referred as nested inner class. Then we have also an anonymous inner classes, and then local inner classes. These are the four types of inner classes that we've got in Java. So we are going to look at how do they look like and how we can code a few examples of them. Now, I'm just going to first introduce the two, then we go back to proceed where we had left from code. So the first is member inner class. A member inner class is a class created within a class and outside a method. A member class is a class created within a class and outside a method. A member class is non-static. You need to note that. So if you are following up in the code, we had outer class and inner class. Our inner class was non-static. You know how to declare a static class or static methods or a static variable. I hope you know. So whatever we created in our outer class and then inner class, we never had anything related to static variable, static method, or static class. So which means that the inner class we created in a code, in our code, is a member inner class. Why? Because it is non-static. It is not declared static. I hope you understand that. A member inner class is a class within a class and outside the method. When you put it inside the method, when you declare a class, we are going to see that you can have the class which is declared within a method. But when you declare it within a method, then it is termed in a different way, and we are going to look at that. Then we are saying a member inner class refers directly to instance variables or private or members defined within enclosing class. We are going to see how possible is that. Also, because an inner class is associated with an instance, it cannot define any static members itself. You need to note these. These are very key. Also, because an inner class is associated with an instance, itself it is an instance, it is non-static. So remember, you guys, you cannot have a static member within an instance. Static members only exist in a static context. If you try to declare a static member within a non-static member, you're going to have an error. So let's proceed and see the syntax of a member class of a member inner class. Just like the syntax of an inner class. This is how a member inner class looks like. You've got the outer class, you've got an outer class, which is in this case called main class. Then you have inner class. But we've said a member inner class is non-static. If you put here if you put a static keyword before class here, then you have that will be a static inner class, and it is not a member inner class. So basically, we have this where you have code. Then that means you can put methods, you can put variables as well. Now, this is what I wanted. Instantiation of a member inner class. How do we instantiate? How do we create an object of a member inner class? And this outer class, but I want to access maybe members or methods or variables of a member inner class. How do we do it? Now, the syntax for creating an object of a non-static member inner class is this. You first instantiate an outer class. You first instantiate a member, an outer class. In this case, when you look at our syntax, our outer class is main class. So M is an object of the outer class called main class. So after creating that object, then you create the object of the inner class using this object. And look at this, the syntax. You have to put the name of the outer class, main class, then dot, the name of the inner class, then the object name, then which is equivalent to the object of the outer class, then dot new, the name of the inner class. This is what I wanted so that I can go back to code because there's no way we would proceed. You guys, I was going to start writing things you don't know. So I just wanted you to first understand this. We have a non-static inner class. How do we access members over that inner class? Obviously, we have to use an instance of that inner class, but how do we create that object? This is the syntax. You have to instantiate first the outer class, where we have this M. You can give, M is just the object name. You can give whatever name you want. Then after that, you have main class, then dot inner class, then the object of the inner class, which is equal to the object name of the outer class, then dot new, the name of the inner class, the constructor actually. So let's go back to our code, and then we can proceed where we had left. You guys were going to get confused. So this inner class is non-static. This outer class is the name of outer class. So in this case, inner class is a member what? Is a member, this is member inner class. So we've seen how to instantiate this inner class. We use the object of the outer class. So in this case, we shall come we shall come and use outer class. We first initialize this. Maybe the object name is O, which is equal to outer class. So we've created an instance of the outer class. Then we've said we create an object of an inner class using the outer class. And what is the syntax? You have outer class, then dot the name of the inner class. Even here, you can see they bring a pop-up with what you can do. And you see it's part of that inner class, then the object of the inner class, which I can call inner. Then the syntax again is we create this instance inner using the object of the outer. Our object is O, then dot the constructor, So the constructor is new of the outer class, of the inner class, new the dot, the name of the inner class, which is this. And there you have no error, meaning that everything is legal as far as what you've written is concerned. Guys, this is very important, and I'm sure it's going to be part of whether academic work or development work. So it's very important to understand the syntax, and then you see how to play around with other code modules. Now we've created, maybe I can repeat. I just want you guys to get this. This is very key. I know they are going to doctor is going to ask you this in your exam. So, but my focus is to make sure you guys understand, not just write papers. Yes, for me, I wrote papers, but you guys can also try this. It can help. I usually advise students wherever I meet them that you can do both. You find most people who are very intelligent in class, they only do academic work, and then development work, they are nothing. It's bad, you guys, because for me who is in field, I know what drives someone to recruit you. For example, if I'm the CTO of this company, for example, what is going to drive me to employ you is not because of your paper. Yes, your academic paper also contributes, but you guys also need to have the skill as well. So make sure you balance. This is a personal advice to you guys. Yeah, that balance the paper and as well as the skill. If you have that, you will go far. So in this case, I've brought that because I know most students will only try to cram and this just to pass and go. But the skill as well is very important. Now, in this case, someone is raising hand. You can yes, you can mute and ask. Yes, good morning.
Yeah,
I thought about that syntax there for outer class and creating a new inner class.
You've said?
Do we have to use that dot inner class each time we're creating an inner class?
Yes, that's
no,
this is the syntax. Like the syntax, that's how you have to create, like you have to put like dot. So everything I've written here,
yes,
you cannot violate against syntax. Syntax is syntax, right? So in this case, I'm saying that, remember, but these are just names. So every time you need to create an object of inner class, the syntax is you first instantiate the outer class. Now you have this object of the outer class. And then next, create for you this object. It is the name of the outer class, then dot name of inner class, then the object name, then the object of the outer, then the object, you use the constructor for the inner to create using new, then the name of the inner class. So it's a must because that's the syntax. Remember, you cannot violate syntax. No, syntax are rules. You have to follow rules. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So now we proceed. Someone else? Go on.
In the slides where you have outer class dot inner class, you used the object of the outer class or dot. I expected you're going to use O dot inner class.
Let me just go back and see. You said that I did what? Because the syntax is I instantiated the main class, the outer class, which is M.
Okay.
And then
It's
and
okay.
then
It's okay. I'll say
you-
yeah.
okay. So we go back to code. If you get any issue, please you raise that issue as far as inner classes are concerned. So now code, let's proceed with our code and we finish this. Now we've created this, then now we are going to access. So we said you only access members of the inner class using its object. So we can now use this object to access whether this instance variable or the instance method that is within. So in this case, I'm just going to print something small for you guys to see. Just to make it fun, me outer class has inner class named. So in this case, I'm going to access this variable, instance variable within an inner class. So in this case, we are saying that we can only access this variable of inner class using its object. So the object is inner. So in this case, we're going to put inner, then dot the name of the what? Maybe let's give it another name so that you guys don't get confused. So I'm going to, I'm just going to use, I've just renamed it to name so that you understand. So we use the object name of the inner to access the member. So it is inner then dot what? Dot name. No error. So when you print, you can see the message, right? You can see the message. Me, outer class, has an inner class named inner what? Inner class, you know? So if you do this in inner class. So this is how we access the members. For example, the instance variable for what? From the inner class, use its object. As well, we can do the same to access the instance methods or method that is within this inner class. In this case, I have method. So I will use this object, the same object, inner dot message. There we go. So if you come and then execute your code, you have this. I am, let me just mark this. I am this line. I am inner class within outer class called outer class. When you look at this, we had, we were illustrating here the first that you can access the private instance variables of outer within an inner class. So that's why I had to use the outer class here. Then again, now we are illustrating that we can access this instance method of an inner class within the definition of this, because this public static void is within the definition of the outer class, but only when we use the inner class object. So that's why you say inner then dot message. This message is the object within message is the instance method within the within inner class. So this is where we are. This is very key. I've introduced quite now important things. We've looked at how do we instantiate an inner class, and more so a non-static one. And then also how to access members of that inner class, whether it is instance variable or instance a non-static or instance method. Yes, Isaac, go on.
If I'm to take you back a bit, on the way you've accessed the inner class using outer class dot inner class, you're accessing it in a form of like the inner class is a static member of the outer class. The way you're accessing it directly, outer class dot inner class, you're accessing it like in a way that the inner class is a static member of a outer class. So I would like you to clarify on that.
Oh yeah. So first of all, what Isaac you need to note is that when when it comes to syntax and rules, it's not me who wrote Java, guys, yeah? But if it is syntax, then you have to follow syntax. You don't need to care that this is how you access static. In this case, we have nothing related to static. But the rules are, if I want to access, if I want to access the object of an inner class, what do I do? That's the question on table. Java rules say, or the syntax is that you have to first instantiate the outer class, which we did using this object called O. And then next, the syntax is that you have to have outer class name, then dot name of the inner class, then the object, then you also you use this object of the outer class you created, then the constructor. So Isaac, this is the syntax. It's not like next time it's going to change unless Java changes its rules, decides to change the rules as far as instantiating an inner class, more so on member inner class.
Okay, I wanted just to elaborate on the concepts which you explained about inner class not declared static. What that concept?
We are going to look at static. If you declare it static, for example, if you put here static, you're going to have error here. You see, you've already gotten an error. They're saying that illegal enclosing instance specification for type outer, So there is another way, if it is static, how you can instantiate for a static. But in this case, we are looking at a non-static member in a class. And that's basically how you access its members. Yes, Andrew, go on. Andrew Opio, I saw Andrew Opio raising a hand.
Yes, good morning. Confirm if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, so I'm seeing in the inner class, we have private string name and conventionally private variables cannot be accessed directly. So just to clarify, can you access the private variable of an inner class in the outer class?
Okay, thank you for asking. I hope, I don't know if, who was asking, Andrew? I hope you are following. When we come back to slides, I specified that, but let me go back. Andrew, again, raising the hand. Let me just go back to slides and then we see what the facts, Look at this. Let me just, key facts on relationship between inner and outer classes. Inner and outer classes have access to each other's private members. We looked at this. Inner and outer classes have access to each other's private members. This is very key. And I've already demonstrated that in the code. So Andrew, it is okay in Java that if you have inner class, it can access the private members of the outer class. Also, the outer class can also access the private members of an inner class. Then we looked at this. It is illegal to reference a private instance within the definition of an inner class. It is okay to reference a private instance variable of the outer class. We saw that one where we declared a string in the outer class, then we accessed it within an inner class. Then they're also saying that it is legal to invoke a private method of the outer class. We've not demonstrated this, but we can look at this. Let me just demonstrate that also. So this one, we saw that you can reference a private member of outer within inner class where we use this. You can see that. But they are also saying that if you have a private instance method, a non-static method within outer, it can also be accessed within inner. So I'm just going to put then maybe my outer classes, they have age, yeah. So return maybe 10. So this is an instance method in the definition of outer. But by rules, we are saying this inner class can also access what? Can also access this is private instance method of the outer. So let's see how. I'm just going to add something here. I am in a class within outer class called that one, who is, just to make it fun, yeah, you can, I'm just going to show you like how you can access what and what. So we are saying that we can access this private instance method, and the convention is that you have to just do this. You access it and there is no error. So this get edge is a private instance method in the definition of the outer, but this inner class is able to what? To access. That's what we saw in the slide. So if you print this, okay, so first save. Maybe to make it fun, I just want to use like things for you guys can easily grab. I don't know so if I print this, you can see that we've been able to return this 10, which is the method like coming from the get edge, the instance method of the outer, which has been accessed within inner exactly here. So that's why where in a certain slide we said visibility modifiers, public and private, when it comes to inner classes, are all equivalent. Even if you declare this private, you will still access this. Even if you declare this private, which public or what, you can still access. So that's what basically I was saying. Someone who has just asked about that, I hope you've understood the point. So we have confirmed these two now. You know, if I can come here, we've seen that it is legal to reference a private instance variable of the outer class. This one, we've seen that in the body or in the definition of an inner class, we've been able to access the name of the outer. Then we've also invoked a private method of the outer. We've seen that get edge. So I hope this one is very clear. I've demonstrated using code how that one is possible. Yes, Isaac, go on, Isaac.
Yes, you said visibility modifiers in inner class are all equivalent. Now, a case where you have a member in an inner class which is static to it, can it also be accessed by the outer class?
First of all, in this case, since we will not go to the statement you said is wrong, because you're saying an inner class. Now it depends on which class, because if it is inner class, which is a member that now we are looking at, you know, you cannot declare a static variable, because let's go to code and show you cannot declare a static. You cannot declare a static member within a non-static context. You know, for example, if you come here and then try to put static int num, which is maybe 7, already they're showing you an error. Why? This is the non-static context. This inner class is non-static, so you can not declare this a static member within. But we shall Isaac, we shall see that when we come to static member inner class. Can we do that? We are here to see all that. So then finally, if I'm to conclude everything about member inner class, so we've seen this, that inner class, you can reference private instance method And then also you can invoke the private method of the outer class. Next, if we go to this one, we've seen this, now we look at this, that also within the definition of the outer class, you know, when you're within the body of the outer class, it is legal for you to reference a private instance variable of an inner class. We saw that we declared a private instance variable in an inner class, then we were able to access it in the outer class. Also, we are saying it is legal to invoke a non-static method of an inner class as long as you access it using the object of an inner class. We also demonstrated that where we have the method called message. Then we say within the definition of inner or outer class, the modifiers public and private are equivalent. Then to confirm this, I don't want you guys to get confused. I want you to understand this. So that's why I'm trying to use even code to show you these facts, because we are saying key facts on the relationship between inner classes and outer classes. So just to confirm that, if you come to our code, is that here we declared an instance variable within an inner class, and then even this one, even if you call it private, because the visibility modifier was default, even if you call it private, here you see that we can access this method message using an object of inner. And also this private instance, we were able to access it here. So if you run still, you don't have any error. So in this case, we've seen what a member inner class is, how it can have members declared private and still be accessed in the outer class, and as well how this non-static inner class can access also the private members of the outer class. So we are done with member inner class. We can proceed with the slides and we see other types. And now the next one is the static member inner class. So we've just finished that. We've finished that. We've seen how to instantiate and then how to access the members. Write a simple example to demonstrate a member inner class. I've done that, guys. So next is a static member inner class. A static member inner class is an inner class that is declared static. Just that. The difference between this and then the non-static or just member inner class is that for a static member inner class, it has this keyword what? Static. It is declared static. But now there's a difference on how you can instantiate this static inner class, and we are going to look at this in the above code example snippet of whatever you've seen on this syntax. We are saying that static inner class, this one, actually in this case it is member inner class. No, static inner class. Yeah, static inner class is our inner class that is a static member inner class. You know, is a static inner class. This class cannot reference directly to their instance variables or methods defined in its enclosing class, since they use them only by an object reference. So they are accessed by the use of class name. Syntax for creating an object of a static inner class. We are saying that we use the class name of the what? Of the static inner class, just create object. Here it's just one line. You create it, you have the outer class, then dot the static inner class, then the object name, which is equal to new, the main class, then dot static inner class. That's basically how you create an object. This one is simple as this as well. You know, this is how you instantiate or you create an object for a static inner class. You have the outer class, which is main class, then dot static inner class, the name of that static inner class, then the object name, then new, the outer class name, then dot the name of that static inner class. Now I'm just going to just demonstrate using a small example to see how we can instantiate and then a static member in a class and how to access its variables. The variables and then methods, what you can call the members of that class. So just a simple example. So in this case here, this is our member class. So in this case, we are going to look at static member in a class or static nested class. So I'm just going to, you can name it any, so call it static, maybe static inner class. You guys, I don't expect in your coding to use these names, nomenclature in programming is very key. You name classes, you name modules based on what you've got at hand as your requirements. Me now, I'm just guys demonstrating to you the concepts. I don't expect you to be using these names, because names should convey what you're coding. So in this case, we have this, but it's not yet declared static. So if we put static, then it becomes a static in a class. Now, in this case, we can have maybe methods, and then we see how we can access those methods. Maybe I put void message or anything, maybe print. You can give your method name anything. Sorry, it's void. Void. So in this case, I'm just still going to access this. But now, the way you access, let me just print something here, then we first go slowly to see the concept. Now just going to print something small and then instantiate and see how best we can access this method. I am static inner class within outer class. So we have this method. Now the question is, how do we instantiate this static inner class? We are saying it's not the same syntax for this, because if you try now to do it's quite different. And now let's go straight and see. We've seen in the slides how to do that. We've said, if I can put this one here, instantiating a static inner class. We've said the syntax is outer class dot inner class, the object name, and then which is assigned to new, then outer class dot inner class. So in this case, our outer class is named outer class, then dot the name of the static class, which is static inner class, and then the object name you can name it any. Maybe I'm just going to call it inner one, then dot new outer class, then dot the name of the what of this that static inner class. And in this case, you have this, and then you terminate. So basically, this is how we instantiate, as we saw in the slide. In this case, I can put here instantiating non-static, or what you can call instance inner class, non-static inner class. Here you have instantiating static inner class, and you are saying the syntax is you've got the outer class name, then dot the inner class name, but the static one, then the object name, then which is equal to new, the outer class name, then dot the name of the inner class. So in this case, at this point, we can access any member that within this that is within this static class. So in this case, we have print. So in this case, I just have to come here and say inner one dot print, and no error. So in this case, when you print, we expect to get a message that I'm a static inner class within outer class. So if you print, you can see that, right? If you can look at this, that I am a static inner class within outer class. So what about variables? You know, if you put something here, maybe private static num, which is maybe equal to 12, should be initialized. So with the data type is int. So we have this static variable. So can we access this value? You know, even when it is private. So if you come here and put inner one dot, you know, so can we get dot num? You cannot get. Can someone explain why? Yeah. So in this case, you cannot, no, in this case, it is inner one. But still you cannot access because of being declared static. But if for example, you put this, still you cannot access. Why? Because of member being declared static. So in this case, basically, this is how you can have the instance variable, for example, print method, which is non-static, and then and then you access it outside this inner class in the body of the outer class. So you can look at very many examples. I actually intend to drive you guys to practice some coding. In this case, I'm using dummy examples. I'm saying dummy because just to show you the concepts, but you can try to use as very many real life examples, maybe in the financial context, calculating stuff like interest, calculating stuff like amount payable after a given period of time, using these concepts. And that's why at the end of the day, I want us to use because if you get recruited in a company, they won't be expecting you this, but how do you convert, for example, their requirements into code using these concepts is what is very key. So if you go back to our slides.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
I'm just wondering, why can't the variable inside the static member be accessed in the main? You didn't quite explain that.
For main?
The static member that we made, you made a variable int. Then when you remove the word static, it still couldn't be accessed inside the main method.
So let's try to demonstrate that and see. We created this num, right?
Yes.
You can try to use this num within this. If you want to use it, try to put like maybe, for example, static. Static.
We can't see your screen.
Oh, sorry. My screen here. If you look at this, it's static, right? And then if you try to come here and say inner one dot num, inner one is an object for this static, but you cannot access this. So the best way you can do this to access this variable is you've declared it here, and then maybe you create a private int, then maybe return value, and then you say return num. So num, it is this value that is declared here. So you can achieve that by accessing it using an instance method that will help you return this. So even though this one is private, but see, you can still access this private static variable, which will help you return the value. So now you can use this method return value to what to achieve to get that variable that you want. So if you do this, you'll be able to have no error. So yeah, basically that is it.
How about if the method getAge was static?
GetAge, right? Here, as long as okay, we can demonstrate that as long as it's static, you can access a static member within a static context. So in this case, if we do this one here, maybe private static, this one int age, maybe put age 1. Now in this case, you can call this one, but using the name of the outer what? Of the outer class. So in this case, you can say, so our outer class is new outer class. Then dot get age 1. See, so there's no error, but you see, so this one is private static within the outer, but still you can access this outer private static member of the outer within this static context of the inner class using this syntax. So that's basically how you said if getAge was static, and that's how best you can access that one as well. Yes, Isaac.
Yeah, mine is on the inside the static class, the static inner class. When you are having again a static method, can it be used also to access a static variable?
Okay, let's do that. You're saying if I have a private static, then maybe int return num, and then you're saying should return, can we our static variable num? So you see, you can access Isaac, no error, right? So as long as the fact is, as long as you're calling a static member within a static context, you don't have any error. So that's why I'm able to create a static method here, but still access this static what? Static variable within a static inner class. So yes, Isaac.
Yeah, you say that you cannot create a static member within a non-static context.
Yes.
I'm right there.
Yes,
but,
yes.
Is our outer class is non-static, but we've put there a static method.
Which one exactly?
In our outer class.
What's the name? This one, our outer class, right?
The static int.
This one. A class,
yes.
You know a class. This was under object-oriented programming. A class can have both static and non-static members. That's a fact. Any class in Java can have static and non-static members, whether variables or methods. In this case, getAge is a non-static method. So it's not violating the fact that an inner class in Java can have an instance variable. Yes, Isaac. Also, you've got a static member as well, you know, because we are saying a Java class can have non-static and then static members. So that's why we have both of these two, because it is okay to have both static and non-static within a class, within a class, within a class in Java. But in this case, when it comes in a class, it is true, it is a fact that you cannot call you cannot call a static, or you cannot use a static member within a non-static context, especially when it comes in a class and then methods. Let's get over that and then try to go to look at other categories or other types of inner classes. So write a simple example to demonstrate a static member in a class. We've looked at that. Facts: compiling any class in Java produces a dot class file named that. I hope that's not the first time you guys hearing that. I hope you even saw it under object-oriented programming. But the key thing here, the new thing maybe that you guys might not be knowing, or some of you might be knowing, is that compiling a class with one or more inner classes causes both one or more classes to be compiled and produce two or more class files. If you just have a class, when it is compiled, you get class, the file is always named the class name, then dot class. But in this case, what happens when we have a class that has a class that has inner classes? What is the output when you compile that class? And we are saying the output is if you have different files, you will have the outer. So in this case, it will be, for example, outer.class, .class. That would be one file. And then the next is outer class, then this $sign, the inner class name, you know. So in our examples, we had like inner class 1, for example. So it would be outer class, $sign, then inner class, then dot class. Those will be the output. Those will be our files that will be output when you compile. Next, we are going to look at an anonymous inner class. So far we finished 2, member inner class, and then static member inner class. An anonymous inner class is one that is created for implementing an interface or extending a class. An anonymous class, therefore, must implement an interface or extend an abstract class, but you don't use keywords extend or implement to create an inner class. Basically, an inner class, it is this class that has no name. You need to note that one in your head. If maybe I could have skipped that putting in the slides. But an anonymous inner class doesn't have a name. So how do we create it? They are saying we use an abstract class or an interface. I think we all know about these terms, what an interface is, what it consists of then, and what an abstract class is. So we basically, anonymous class doesn't have a name. So how do we create it? We create it by using abstract class or interface. But in this case, we are not using keywords, extend, that's when you're using abstract class, and implement when you're using interface. The syntax for creating an anonymous class is you have an anonymous, you have the name of, this is the name of where you see the anonymous inner is abstract class name or the interface name. Then where you have this one, it's the object, and then which is equal to new, the abstract name, or the interface name. Then within, you can have methods or data members. So basically, that's how we create this syntax sink into your head before we proceed to look at an example. So key facts about anonymous inner classes. Anonymous inner classes cannot have a constructor. Why? Because we've said anonymous inner classes do not have names, but we use abstract class or interface to create them. They're saying we cannot use them in order to create instances of anonymous classes. As a result, we have to declare and instantiate anonymous classes in a single expression at the point of use. You declare and instantiate anonymous classes when you're using the abstract class and the interface. Here they are even telling us again that we may extend an existing class, and in this case, which must be an abstract class, or implement an interface. An anonymous class can access any variables visible to the block within which an anonymous class is declared, including local variables. Within, you see, within. Then anonymous class can also access methods of the class that contains it, that is outer class. So, well, write simple example to demonstrate anonymous inner classes. So we are going to look at these concepts. First, we are saying it has no name. So how do we create it? Either using an abstract class, or in an interface using this syntax. And we've seen these facts about inner classes. So let's go back and look at small example about inner classes, about anonymous inner classes. So in this case, we've said we use abstract classes or interfaces to create anonymous classes, but in this case, we don't use keyword extend and implement in case you're using an interface. So I'm just going to declare an abstract class, maybe abstract class, maybe an anonymous. Here I'm just using abstract, like dummy names in your code. When you get a requirement and you fail, this is where the concept of anonymous inner classes apply. You have to scrutinize very well your requirements and get the names that apply based on the requirements that you have. Abstract anonymous may be inner. It can abstract class, they have abstract method. So in this case, I can just declare like one abstract method. So maybe void get my name. So which is taking no parameter, is taking in no parameters. Then also I also want to demonstrate using an interface. So I create interface, maybe just to not deviate a lot from the names, maybe one. Then I can also give it a method that we can use to demonstrate creating an anonymous class. Maybe get my age. In this case, you can even give it int or whatever, It's not necessary, it should be void. Maybe in this case, okay, let's try to change a few things here. Maybe they're going to take in age. So we've created the abstract class and also our interface. The reason as to why I'm creating two is because I want to demonstrate to you how we create anonymous classes using the two, using abstract class and then the interface. Now I'm just going to get into the definition of this outer class and then use the syntax that we saw of creating an anonymous class. So in the first case, we are going to use the abstract class. So we've seen that, so creating an anonymous class using abstract class. That's the first thing. So the syntax we saw, it is the abstract class name, then the object, then which is equal to new, the abstract class name, and then this, you know. But yeah, so in this, you have a constructor. So in this case, when you tap on this, they tell you duplicate inner. So we can use another object, maybe I. So, but this abstract class has had a method, you know, we gave it a method. So in this case, we have to define this method get my name. So you just have to put this, it is the return type is void. So you put void, then the name, then we give it a body, you know. So in this case, then you have to terminate here, you know, you have to terminate here the anonymous class. So we can give maybe a system just to demonstrate system dot out dot print line. Then I can put like I am an anonymous class created using abstract class. Then you terminate. We are done. We've created our what? We've created our anonymous inner class, which we've created using abstract. And then we are going to see how we access this member that is within an anonymous class. So what you have to do, you just have to use this object you've created. So you just come here and then you put I dot get my name, and then you terminate. In this case, you've been able to create an anonymous class and then make use of it. So if you print, first wait, the error is because we still have this this one. So if you can do this, let's wait on this. Oh, outside I defined another class which was already named this. So I can give it an anonymous class, maybe W, you know, just W. Then here, you can try to change the name. This one. So what's the issue here? Let me check something. It's not waste time. Is it saved? Okay, first save. Okay, it was just a matter of saving. So our anonymous class is this, and then we created it here. So this is the abstract class. Then we use this abstract class name, which is anonymous class W. You can give it any other name. And then within you define you define this method, this abstract method that was declared within this abstract class. Because you know, when you have an abstract class, then you have to define all the methods that are contained within. Otherwise, you will be making whatever has made use of that class abstract. But in this case, we are creating an anonymous class, not an abstract class. So that's why we had to implement that method that is within that abstract class. So if you print, you'll be able to see this result, an anonymous class created using abstract class. Finally, let me just create one using this interface. It is the same conversion or syntax, So that one is called, let me just call it I. So anonymous class I. So you come here, you put this, the name, then the object that you want to use, maybe K, which is equal to new, the interface name. Then you do this. But if you tap here, you have to, it has a method within, yeah? It has a method called get my age, which I can get this. I don't want to write again. So it is this, then I give the definition to this one. So yeah, you're saying it returns int, so maybe return age. So if you do this, if you terminate here, so the visibility matters. So in this case, you know, methods in what? In an interface must be public, right? Is that true? Who still recalls the conversion of an interface? Now in this case, you give it the same visibility, and now you clear off the error. In this case, you call you call the method, that method which is get my age, you know. So in this case, but you're passing maybe age. So we can declare here int age. I don't want to use scan, yeah, that system.in. So I just putting the I'm initializing stuff here so that we can get over this simple thing. So in this case here, you put age and then you terminate. So we are passing age. So there you go. So in this case, this is a value. So if you want to print it, maybe you can copy this and then bring this integer within here. So you can put maybe some simple text, the age number is, then you do this, put this, then put your value. So when you print this, you can get this, the age number is what? Is 50, you know? You could do the same thing to just make things look good. Maybe you can also declare one that prints. Maybe you put a void here and then you print. In this case, I don't want this print, maybe a print or message, whatever, and any method name would work. So then in this interface name, you have to implement, you have to define that print method. So in this case, we can put public void print, then we define what we want to print. And in this case, I just want to make it somehow, maybe I am an anonymous class created using interface. Created using interface. And then you can come here as well and then put k dot print, and you'll be able to have an anonymous class created using what? Created using interface. So basically, this is how you can create an anonymous class using abstract class or the interface. So we are done with that. It's just simple as that. We go to our slides and we see what could be next. Write a simple example to demonstrate inner class, anonymous inner class. We are done with that. Next, finally, we look at local inner class. Local inner class is something that is not so complicated as well. What you have to know is that a local inner class is this inner class that is defined within a method. Just that. In this case, we are seeing a block, but a block of code can be a method, yeah? So a local inner class is one that is defined in a block, which is a group of 0 or more statements between balanced zeros. You typically find local classes within the body of a method. Just that. Yes, Isaac, go on.
Just not to clarify on what is the main reason of us running away from using the extents and the implements when we are creating anonymous inner classes?
Okay, if you come back to advantages of you're asking why we are running away from this. So if you read through this, we are saying there might be a program where a class must not be accessed by the other class. So in that case, you include it in another class. Inner classes are a security mechanism in Java. We know a class cannot be associated. Yeah, basically this, if I can stop at that. Could that have answered you? Why we are running away from extending and all that. So next we on local inner classes. So here we are saying a local inner class is one that is typically defined in the body of a method, and I just want us to run through that within these few minutes remaining, and we call it a day. So get back to our text editor. So it is a local inner class. Let me actually create this. We have a member here. We have this one. Then this class, we also created an anonymous class. So in this case here, we can put our comment that it is an anonymous inner class, which is created using interface. So in this case, we are going to create a local inner class, and we've said it is typically defined in the body of a method. So I'm just going to create a method, maybe called calculate interest. Calculate interest. So our method is this. Maybe interest, interest is calculated, maybe simple interest is from the mathematical expression of principal times rate times time, then divided by 100 or multiplied by 0.01. So in this case, that's what I want to achieve. Just like a simple example, maybe that would now transition our minds from a student like example, maybe to a field-based example. So that's something small that I want to create. So in this case, maybe we are saying if we calculate it using principal and then rate and then time. So in this case, my parameters, I can take in principal. Then I can also take in maybe time, because those usually vary. Sometimes you might find the rate constant. So now you have time. So now this is our method, but we want to create a what? A local inner class. Local inner class. So we've said it is typically defined in the body of a method. Our method is this. So I'm going to call my class. It is this class maybe that is going to help me compute interest. So I'm going to call it maybe interest calculator. Interest calculator. So it is a class, right? Yeah. So in this case, this class, I can give it a method that will help me compute the interest. So I interest maybe double return value, return value. And in this case, we are saying that the mathematical expression to calculate simple interest is principal then multiplied by rate. So in this case, I can, rates are usually constants, so you can just have final int rate. In this case, okay, let's give it double, because usually some might find a bank has 0 point something 55 what. So in this case, we can have final double rate, which is 0.75, then we terminate that. So in this case, this method return value which is within this local inner class interest calculator, is the one which is going to return the value of the interest. So in this case, it is principal times rate, which we have, then multiplied by time, which are passed here as input parameters. So in this case, this one will help me compute interest as you've seen, but we are saying divided by 100, which is same as 0. Multiplied by 0.01. So now this guy is going to help. It is void. So I just want this one to print what the value is going to be. If I have 7 million, then time for 3 years, what would be my simple interest? So in this case, we are going to use the object name of this local inner class, but still within a method. You have to keep that keen eye. So interest calculator, then IC, which is equal to new, then IC, then this one you terminate. So we've created, in this case, we've created, if I can pull this one here, we've created an object of this local inner class, but still in the context of this method within the body of calculate interest. So we are going to put IC dot return value, return value. So which is going to help us return what is the value of simple what? Of simple interest. So if I can put this one, then this one, after it has used, after this calculate interest method has used this local inner class, to compute simple interest using this return value, I want this guy calculate interest to print maybe a text to the user that your value will be this. So I can say system.out.println, then you say the amount, the total interest, you can say the total interest after maybe total interest for amount, which is the principal. You can concatenate this principal here. So it's a matter of copying this, and then you paste this one here. Then you say after, I'm going to use a metric years in this case. So after this time years, which is going to be passed, is now, in this case here, this one is going to return, it is returning double. So you can say double, you can assign it SI, simple interest, equals, then in this case, you print the value here. So we have our local inner class ready, which has been defined, within the body of this method. We have calculate interest, which is our method which takes in principal and then time. But this calculate method has an inner class called interest calculator, But this interest calculator, this local inner class, has a method double value that helps us to compute what will be the total simple interest after a given period of time. So it has this method where it's principal times rate times time. Principal has been input, time as well. Then rate is our constant. So here we instantiate this our local inner class still within the body of the calculate interest. Then here we print our text. So we are going to call this method as usual. This is the instance method within the body of outer class. So we know how to call that. Once we have the object of outer class, then we can call this method. So in this case, I'm just going to come here, making use of local of method containing a local class. Making use. I'm putting these comments. I created a Git repository, which I'm going to share with you guys, that will be having this. So I'm just putting these comments that in your free time, you can go back in case you're lost somehow, you want to practice. You can refer to these comments and see what we are doing at a certain line. Making use of method that contains local inner class. So in this case, we are going to call this method, which is calculate interest, which takes in principal and then what, and amount and time. So in this case, we shall have, I think we already created the object somewhere for, it's called O. So I don't need to create another object. So I will just use this object. So it's already instantiated. So I'm just going to call O, then dot this. Then I pass in. You can, in this case now, if you want to make your program dynamic, you can use the scanner class, you know. But in this case, I'm just going to put variables. So in the first position, the first input parameter is principal. Then the next is number of years, maybe 4. So if you do this and then you print, then we have our result here. That the total interest for amount this after 4 years is this one. To make it dynamic, you can use scanner class, but this is what I've just used to demonstrate local inner class. Let me just go through it again, like chap, then we see we can finish off this, because I'm seeing even we are running out of time. Now we come to this, our method. We've said local inner class is any class that is defined within the body of the what? The method. The method is calculate interest. Then the local inner class is interest calculator. Then it has got a method which is return value, you know, which is return value, and it is returning the value of what? Of simple interest. And how do we compute simple interest? By this mathematical expression, and we have this data, the principal and then the time. Then here we instantiated this local inner class within the body of this calculate interest, so that we can have access to this return value. So then we had to print the result. So that's basically how we create what? Local inner class as well. Now I go back to our slides. We finish of this. Yeah. Yes, Isaac.
Can you, inside the method, can you create a static inner class?
Can within a method, can you insert? So if you go by this rule that you can use a static member within a static method, within a static context, then you can do that. But in this case, if you go back to here, then you go here. So if you come back to our here, this method, it is instance. So you cannot create, you cannot use like a static. You cannot call it static because it is within, maybe if you call this what? Static. You get it, Isaac? You cannot call it this static because it is within a context that is non-static. This method is non-static. But once you call this method static, this one, you can be able to call this create interest calculator as a static inner class.
Thank you.
You get it, yeah? Okay. So we summarize, and my last slide, I just want you guys to do something here. The assignment, I'm not giving you assignment just to, I want you guys to practice, you know, because when you practice, you get to understand what we've seen. And I've tried as much as possible to illustrate using code. So I hope in your free time, you can use real life examples. What I was using, dummy, this was using the setting of dummy examples, you know, but maybe the local inner class, that's where you can meet that one in a financial institution, maybe a bank. You can use that real life example, but when it comes to member, you can try to do as much as possible. Maybe for maybe member inner class, I have this real example that I can give you guys. In a home, you have this house, but a house has got maybe your parents' bedroom. Now, we said that private members of an inner class can be accessed through the object of what? Of that inner class. So you find that for you to access maybe the bedroom of your parent, you have to use your dad's permission. So dad's permission is now the object name of your dad, right? That will allow you to access his bedroom. Eh? Those life examples, there are very many, but I'm just giving you. But your dad can access your bedroom when you consider the hierarchy, you know. So you can consider your dad as the outer, and then your bedroom as the inner. He can access anyhow, and you, when we map this, when you look at what we've looked at, you can map into anything, that any real life example into code. Then lastly, here there are what we call helper classes in Java. I didn't put much focus onto it, but you guys can look at what helper class. It is in the context of inner classes. Basically, if I can give you simple information, a helper class, you find that it has visibility modifier private. But I want you guys to go ahead and look at how can I apply it? How can I apply it in Java? So basically that. I think that's our lecture. We are on time, 9:59. Guys, I just wanted to share with you, and I hope you've gotten information that is going to help you along your class of advanced object-oriented programming to pass the course. But most importantly, if you're thinking outside class in the programming context, how will these things help me? So there is an article I created about inner classes. As Doctor has told you, I publish articles when I'm in my free time. I try to create as much as I can for other people to learn from. I'm not only good at Java, but stuff like React Native for mobile apps, Next.js, quite many, Laravel, which is a PHP-based framework. You guys, most of you know. So I try to publish as many as I can. So if you guys try to follow me, you don't know. There are some certain things that you can learn from me and absorb and try to use in your programming. So that's our class. I thank you guys for your time. I hope Doctor is online who can chip in to say something. Could be Doctor be online? Hello. Doctor? Oh. Okay, seems Doctor is offline. But it would be good if shared with something. Who could be having a comment. Let me just give him a call to say if he's online, or so that you guys can try to proceed to your activities. If anyone has a comment, has a question, would like to know something from me, can use this minute before we cross, as I get to Doctor. Please be free to ask anything, for anything you would like to know. Could be what we've learned or something else. Anyone? Isaac, you've been so active. You don't have any question?
I just thank you.
Let me try to reach Doctor. I don't know if he's still. He seems to be on. Let me see. Let me just call him. Yep. Okay, let me just communicate to them. Yeah, to GitHub, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to do that, yeah. Okay, thank you, Doctor. So guys, I've just talked to Doctor. He says that we can end class. I'm just going to share this code. I'm just going to share this code online, GitHub, and then you guys can access the code and then practice as many as you can. Even this assignment, which is here. Which is here.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, yes, please.
Yeah, I just have a question. Like you said, you just graduated. Do you plan on going for a master's, or you want to just enjoy the field for now?
Who is asking? I just want to know the name.
Tabale College.
I think that is personal. It's a personal setting related question, but it's okay. You see, we shall see. You can ask me that on a personal level. You can get in touch with me. I'm someone who is free, but on educative matters, what you would like to learn, not basically Java, but other things. Yeah. When you look at my profile, you see what I'm good at. Maybe you have a question, I can help you along. Yeah, basically that. So I'm just going to share. I'm in your class group. I'm just going to share the repository URL so that you guys can clone it and then practice as many as you can. Yeah. So we are ending the class unless someone has.
Please share the slides as well so we can get your details.
Okay, I will. I will share as well the slides, but it's not good to rely on slides. Maybe if you're just going to look through, then but practice. Me, I advocate you guys, you practice as many as you can, because Doctor tries to bring in like real life examples. So, and next class we are going to look at JDBC, which is and GUI. Which is Java database connectivity, how you can connect to database. You guys can be practicing that. Then the next lesson, so that we don't have a lot of issues. Yeah, how you can create a GUI, then also push stuff to database. If you've done, I think, network application development, where you use the servlets. I don't know if you guys saw that servlets. You could have seen JDBC somewhere. I don't know if it is third year this semester or some other year. I don't still remember, but that's what we are going to look at next lecture. So thank you guys. See you next time.